Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex,
And I'm Annie.
and we are joined today by Luca Zambello, who is the CEO of Jurny. Well, Luca, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're so excited
Absolutely.
to have you here. We saw you guys had a great presence at VRMA recently, and we learned more about your product. And I think that what you guys are doing is nothing short of just amazing. I mean, you've got so much embedded in the tool. There's a lot that we can talk about here, but I think for those of you people that don't know you and Jurny, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and your background and kind of the genesis of Jurny?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I can tell you kind of like why I started Journey
Sure.
and where that started. But, well, I'm originally from Italy and I moved here about to LA 14 years ago. And a couple of years after I moved here, I kind of stumbled into the industry. So it was like early age of Airbnb, where wasn't not yet a thing. And I
Hmm.
realized that most of the short-term rentals done for villas in, especially here in LA, there was a lot of people doing villa rentals, like even for productions and short-term rentals. It was done through brokers, so word of mouth. So I said, like, wait, nobody's like promoting anything online. So I literally launched a landing page that was uh, saying, hey, we can find luxury villas for you if you need them for short-term rental. And that landing page did $1.2 million in revenue on year one. So
Wow.
so that's what got me hooked into the industry. It was a short-lived business because like I say like 14, 15 months after I launched it, like Airbnb started becoming a thing. So homeowners started listing directly on Airbnb. Luxury Retreat, I don't know if you remember, the company was a company that was really coming. One Fine Stay and Luxury Retreat came to the market and start competing against the luxury villa market. And so I pivoted the company to a management company, realized that the only way moving forward was managing properties full time, and uh, basically been a property manager since before Journey. I scaled the management company to 300 units. So I think what's very important is that I've been a property manager for so long, and I've experienced all the pain points that property managers have to go through, from small scale to large scale. And our biggest frustration back then was that, which kind of still was until not long time ago, is the fragmentation of technology and how technology doesn't really work and interconnect with one another. So each piece kind of behave as its own system, and when you want to have something that is very efficient and scalable, you want to have all these different pieces to talk to one another and operate as a single system. And that didn't happen and didn't exist. And we found ourselves alongside with a lot of other management company at the time, Stay Alfred and Lyric and so, like investing a lot of money into this interconnectivity. And so that's where really I thought of start building kind of like I want to say an interconnectivity platform to try to have all these different pieces of technology talk with one another, for our management company. But then realized that this we were fixing a major industry problem, and that's how we decided to then launch Journey. I don't want to go into much details, but I know you guys asked kind of how
You're,
I got here. Yes, but that's how.
that's that's definitely a great preview of all of it. But in between that fast forward, there was a lot of steps, right? That got you
Yes.
from the beginning to the end. But it's one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and I've talked with other team members with Journey, is that I think there's such a difference between the software that's out there now that was built by operators versus software that was not built by operators. And not necessarily that your development team needs to have property management backgrounds, but you as a leader leading that team and knowing exactly what the pain points were, I think that really points to where the strength in Journey's offerings lie.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think the problem is when you just develop a software and you have never been an operator, you don't realize a lot of the
Yeah.
nuances that goes into the business.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if you ask a property manager, they know what they tell you what the pain points, but they really don't know how to fix them. So you have to
Right.
really, like, you would need to be sitting down with a lot of them and spend thousands of hours to get the same
Yeah.
level of nuance. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
When you started, what was the like initial part of the platform that you started? Was it just the property management system itself, or was there? I've talked to a lot of people through the years, and I know, having been in property management previous, the one thing that always kind of was lacking, it was the accounting piece of the software. They either had a really good accounting piece, but the rest of it just didn't quite jive. So did you start from one angle to move into it and develop it from there?
Yeah, I think our number one issue first was the first piece of technology that we built was a guest mobile app, and connected to an access control system. We were really, I think, probably some of the first pioneers to really push for remote access with codes that update each time a guest makes a reservation automatically. We just wanted to. Once you start like scaling into the hundreds of units, and with the idea of getting to the thousands of units, you realize the small processes that are made by people, number one, can cause a lot of mistakes. Two, they're not scalable, right? So you try to automate a lot of these pieces, and then one of the first ones that we tried to automate was that. Alongside, like you said, accounting was a very important piece for us. But you kind of can do that. You just have to invest resources. Even if you're not working with the best PMS, you can build something on top of it for that. You just have to invest the resources. But that's what's not right, in my opinion, in the industry, that you have to develop on top of whatever already exists. And that was the part that we were trying to fix with Jurny. But yes, that's how we started. Access control system, guest mobile app, were the first two pieces of technology that we have built, and we were trying to build everything on top of PMSs. And in the journey, pun intended, of doing this, we actually changed 5 PMSs.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And if you talk to any big PM, they have done all the same things. Because you're trying to find that PMS that matches what your needs are, and allows for that level of customization, but it just doesn't exist. So that's the reason why you keep changing it, because you cannot find it, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's not that the PMSs are bad companies. It's just like the way that they are architected, they don't allow for this type of interconnectivity that you will need. So their concept is to create a marketplace. And because of that, it comes with a lot of limitations on what you can do with it. And so you have really two concepts. The all-in-one that does everything internally, and that means that they don't do it well. And they just do kind of like the minimum they need to do for each thing. Or you have the ones that they say, hey, we have a marketplace for every tools. But the reality is, when you have to integrate with sometimes 30, 50, or 100 different solutions for each specific vertical. So let's say 30 pricing tools, right? And 5 guest verification systems. Like, when you do that for each category, access control system, another 5 or 10, like, that means that you cannot go in depth with any of these integrations. And that also means the combination of tech stack that a property manager can have on top of your PMS, it's almost infinite, because every tech stack is going to be different from one another. So because of that, you cannot really go in depth with these integrations. And that means that you have to build layers on top of it yourself. And that means that you have to have specific requests to these PMSs. And that means that if you're not a large enough customers, they're not even going to listen to you and do them for you. And even if they do listen to you, which we were large enough to be listened to, it was never good enough for us, because there was this cut and field glue on top of a system that it was not meant to do that. Right. So that's why we were constantly unhappy, until the point that we realized that, like, hey, this is the last thing we wanted to do, because building a PMS is like is everything but not easy. It's a big
Right.
challenge. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
A lot of resources. It took us like 12 months of some top developers that have experience in this industry for a long time to build one. But we had to build one that allows for interconnectivity.
Mm-hmm. And you've taken a different stance than some of the other property management softwares that do just what you were talking about, that they are just connected to all the pricing services, all the guest verification, all the this, that, whatever. You've taken a different approach to it, where you have specialized services within each different category. Is that correct? Or specialized connections?
That is exactly correct. But the difference is that we choose one partner.
Okay. Yeah.
Only. And the approach is very much like let's say a vertically integrated system. So the idea was, instead of allowing people to build their own system, which means that they have to compensate for a lot of the things that are not already built, like I said before, I said, why we don't build one that is meant to be working together?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like today, when you have to go and choose a PMS, it's like you go buy a car and they tell you, okay, when you choose your PMS, you choose the engine, and then every other part, they're like, choose your own, hire an engineer and put it together. That's
right.
What
you take a Toyota bumper and a BMW hood,
and you have to try to put it together, and it just doesn't look good because it wasn't really meant to be working together, right? And then if car company spends a lot of resources and many years in R&D to try to make sure that everything is going to be working together as a single machine, right? And so really what we're trying to do is the exact same thing, is to give you like a ready to use, easy to use, fully pre-built tech stack. And we were at a panel of VRMA, and one of the things we asked to everybody at the panel was like, how many technology solutions are you utilizing today? What's your tech stack like? And many people said 3 to 4 solutions. Like I think a 4 solution was the maximum that most people have. You really need a dozen different solutions to have a complete tech stack. The reason why people don't have a dozen different solutions is because it's so hard to make those 2 and 3 working well together that you cannot even imagine of adding on top of that, right? And that's really the story of every PM that is trying to scale their company, or even manage a handful of units. You still have the same issues. And so we were like, what if we can give you something that scaling to more solutions is as easy as clicking one button, not having to get on the phone with anybody, and you can just have all those dozen solutions working flawlessly together as a single system. And we realized that we cannot be the one doing it all, because there's things like that we would never wanted to do, like pricing, for example. It's a science. You need to have a company that just been focusing on that for years. And that's what really we wanted to do. We said, let's choose the best of the industry. We know what the best are in the industry. Let's split test all of them, which we did. We split test every single pricing tool that there was in the industry, like all the, let's say, the top known 7, right? And then we split test all of them, and we chose the best performing one. And then we said, let's only work with them, and let's go very deep. So all the functionality that you would have on their pricing tool, you now have it inside of our dashboard. So you don't have to, when you're working with Jurny, you don't have to contact Wheelhouse for pricing. We use Wheelhouse. You will have Wheelhouse embedded into the system. And you want to turn on Wheelhouse, one click of a button. You don't have to sign a contract with Wheelhouse. You don't have to pay them. We take care of all of that. So for you, it's just a switch of a button. And now you have an integration with a pricing tool. Same thing is for the eye verification system. If you want to utilize AutoHost, AutoHost is completely embedded into our system. So guest verification can be done through the mobile app. So they don't have to be sent on a third-party link or anything like that. So everything can be done there. And then and all the different rules that you want to set up on Outpost, they can all be set up on the PMS on the PMS dashboard, on the Jurny dashboard. So again, you don't have to manage a third-party dashboard. You don't have to call anyone to make that integration. It's already built in, right? And that's like that for access control system, guest mobile app. Now you literally can manage 3 units, and you can have the same tech stack that Sandra has overnight for a very accessible price.
We'll start the show in just a minute, but first, a word from our premier brand sponsor, Wheelhouse. If you want to increase your revenue and profitability, you have to have the right tools and data. And Wheelhouse has everything you need to run your short-term rental business more effectively. Wheelhouse is the simplest and most powerful way to unlock your portfolio's revenue and profits. This game-changing revenue management platform puts the industry's most powerful data right at your fingertips, allowing you to run your business exactly as you want to while saving you massive amounts of time. So you can have the right price every night and increase your revenue by an average of 39%. Wheelhouse is offering listeners of this podcast 50% off your first 2 months. Just go to usewheelhouse.com and enter promo code AlexAnnie at checkout, or tell them that you heard about this offer from the Alex and Annie podcast.
So you're kind of like a channel manager for technology in some ways. I mean, that's how I'm thinking through it in my mind. Whereas like, in a PMS, the channel management component is you go and you click all the channels that you want to be on, and it's kind of seamless. So you've done that. But I want to go back. Like, so do you have any technology background prior to property management, or was this something that you had a struggle, so you kind of developed a passion for it and then surrounded yourself with obviously really smart developers? But what was that thing that you felt comfortable stepping into it? Any previous experience?
Well, I'm not a developer myself, but I have, since I was in Italy, I was surrounded by a lot of people that were developers and software engineers, and so I always been familiar with the industry, and I always knew what a lot of the challenges in software developments are, if that makes sense. So I'm very familiar with that. So once I decided very early on, as a property management company, we started developing technology internally. So we were building a tech team from almost day one, and our CTO was originally kind of like working as an external for a while, so he was already very familiar with the industry. At one point we literally sat down, like was me and him and our VP of Ops, and we were like, hey, why don't we just start building this? Let's just do it. And we were like, it is complicated, but it's also, it is doable. Something that we can do.
Doable.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of how it happened.
It's fascinating to me, because to me, like, the technology piece of it is the one piece that it's like I look at, like, HTML coding and like all the stuff that has to be done, like, so for the consumer facing stuff, and then you're looking at all these, just the reports for things that connect everything on the back end and what all that looks like, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like that's just way too much. So for me, it would have been really overwhelming. So I think again, that was where my curiosity lay. Was like, how did you just like wrap your arms around this and go like, I can do this, And
so it's so interesting when you look at the genesis of our industry and how fast things have sped up just in the last few years, as far as the technology is concerned, that, I mean, we're still called a mom and pop cottage industry by a lot of people, but now you have moms and pops that are trying to figure out how to use all this stuff. And it's like, gosh, at no point did most property managers 10, 20 years ago sign up thinking that they were in the technology business, but really we are definitely a big percentage of what we do, I would say, is rooted in technology and making those really good technology decisions. And conversely, if you make the bad decisions, that can be, complete detriment to the business.
But you made a great point. And that's where I think the opportunity lies. Like, I said at one point are we a tech company or are we a hospitality company? And I was spending 80% of my time being a tech company. And I said,
Yeah.
any management company that wants to adopt technology needs to do this. That to me is completely unreasonable and unsustainable.
To do both, you mean?
Yeah, to do
Yeah.
both, and
Yeah, I
and to
agree.
be
I
and to
agree.
be a property manager and having to spend this much time in technology.
Yeah.
I said, the future needs to look like this, and I said it needs to look like you have to have a tech company that takes care 100% of technology, so that it makes it easy enough for a property manager not to be having to become an expert in technology
Mhm.
to adopt technologies. And that's what became literally our personal mission and journey, is exactly to do that. I said it's unsustainable that PMs need to have CTOs in their
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But the only reason is because of what we said at the beginning. They they give you a bunch of car parts and say, go build your own car.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I think the future of the industry is going to be this pre-built. I think Jurny is the first, but it's not going to be the last.
Mhm.
Of this pre-built tech stacks. It's just like, look at the early computers age. When I love always look at the history of, for many different industry, because the history always repeats itself. Computers age early on was the exact same thing. There's still people that build their own PCs, but what is it at 1% of the industry? Most people, like, you
Right.
now
Right.
carry a computer on your phone, on your pocket, which is your phone. You don't even know how that's built. You don't even care. You just care about its functionalities, right?
Right. Exactly.
And that
Yeah.
is the future of the industry. In the end of the day, you're going to choose a product based on its functionality, and it's a finished product. You don't have to plug in anything. You don't have to develop anything on top of it. You don't have to add anything. It needs to be a finished product. Like, it will be like you buying an iPhone, but they're like, okay, you have to glue a couple pieces on your own.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
No, it's our industry is so unique in that respect. It really
Yeah.
is. I don't think
Well,
that there are
it's
other
like
industries that are quite
MacGyver.
experiencing that, but yeah.
I think it's because it's so early. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how every industry is when it's very early on. Very early on, like, Apple was one of the first companies of putting it all together, like all the hardware and OS all together, so you don't have to do anything, and trying to make computers mainstream, right? And really, it happens the same thing of, again, on every industry. Then there's a company that comes along and says, hey, this can be done better. This can be made mainstream. They can be made accessible to everybody.
Right.
And we like to see ourselves as that company and starting that trend. And honestly, I would like to be the leader on doing this, but at the end of the day, I've really done it out of passion, out of like wanting to see improvement in the industry, and genuinely wanting to help PMs out there that they were going through the same struggle that we have been through.
Right. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so hard to develop both and develop the technology, have a tech stack that works, because we were looking at a company and say, hey, how can we get this company to the tens of thousands of units? And every time we were like not scaling the company or growing very slowly, because we understood that the technology would have not supported our growth.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that happening with a lot of these companies, that they grow too quickly without the proper technology, and then they end up failing. And we knew that was going to happen. Again, I don't think the industry was mature enough back then, and I think it's getting there. And this is an evolution of where the industry needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so at one point you were managing your own properties, but you decided you're just going to go on to just the software side. So in that transition, I mean, what was that like? I mean, what did that look like from deciding not to have that side? I mean, what happened at that point in the business?
Well, I think so as I said, we kind of stopped growing, and we decided to really develop the technology to allow us to scale much bigger than 300 units. And when we did that, that's to the point where we realized, I said, hey, this is fixing a massive problem for a lot of other people. What if we try to sell it to other property management company and see what happens?
Right. Yeah.
And then when we saw that there was demand, I just found a lot more passion about doing that. I realized, and I had to be honest with myself. I said, do I want to build a property management company, or I want to build a tech company? What am I more passionate about? It? I'm passionate about both, but I'm more passionate about building a technology company. I'm knowledgeable about the industry, so I want to build a technology company in this industry. But I said, we already developed so much. Why not make it available for everybody and try to make it our mission to fix this industry issue of fragmentation, right?
Right.
And so that's what we did. And the transition wasn't super smooth just from one day to another. Obviously, it took a little bit. But as of basically beginning of this year, that's when we really almost completely stopped managing any of the properties that we had and just fully focused on the software and focusing on creating a good, because we developed the product first for internal use only.
Yeah.
So we had to create an interface. I mean, the last piece of the software that we built, I mean, obviously alongside a few different features, but was the sign up dashboard. Because and usually you talk to any tech companies, the first piece they build is the sign up dashboard.
Yeah.
That was the last piece we built.
Oh, that's funny.
So did you sell off your property management company, or did you partner with somebody? What did you end up doing with it?
We transitioned out a few of the properties that we were the contracts were just coming to an end. Some of the others we passed it to partners management companies, and some others we switched them to a product that we offer outside of technology, is what we used to call Jurny Virtual. Now we call it MOS Pro. So we kept our 24/7 customer support, we kept our pricing team, and we kept our accounting team. And for any property manager that wants these teams, like, we make them available. Obviously for a fee, but like, if you're a small PM, you don't have a 24/7 customer support, you can utilize ours. And it's not some of the customer support that there's out there. These are people that have been highly trained to be professional agents. And so we make that available. And so some of our owners decided, hey, we can take on the management on the ground ourselves. You guys just provide the 24/7 customer support and pricing and accounting and the software. And so we convert some of them into that product.
Okay. And so MOS, that stands for Management Operating System?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which is really unique too, because there isn't anybody else in the industry that has taken on that stance of, we're not a PMS, we're an MOS. I think that's really quite powerful, actually.
Have you trademarked that?
Yeah, be the only one.
I haven't, because I want other people to use it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a believer. I want the best of the industry. Listen, I want to be successful 100%. I'm not gonna lie, but I also I believe in progress.
Yeah. Competition is healthy.
I don't want to be the only one doing this.
Yeah.
I welcome other people to develop the same system. I want this to be the future of the industry, and I want MOSs to take over typical PMSs. Not in a bad way, but I want even PMSs to evolve into MOSs, right? Because that's where the industry should be going. That's what's going to be the most beneficial solution for PMs, in my opinion. Again, as a PM, when I was a PM, I wish a company came out and did this.
Yeah. So you're saying that everything is actually billed through Jurny as well. So the remote locks, all the different services, if somebody signs up for any of the services that you offer, that's now just added into their Jurny bundle, essentially.
Correct. Yeah, we have different bundles, but the MOS basically is a complete package that has all the 12 different tech stacks, like access control system, guest mobile app, pricing, accounting, reporting, guest verification system, the PMS, I guess, component of it. So basically, and the different IoT connections as well, including like smart thermostats and all of that.
Is the pricing model, is it based on unit count, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's on a per unit, and then so for everything, if you count like just what a pricing tool, or also like we include like a cleaning mobile app like a Breezeway of the situation, actually Breezeway. So, but if you account of just the vendors by themselves and you buy them on their own, they will be more expensive than the fee that we charge on a per unit.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming from myself, from the channel management, the OTA side of the equation, are you guys doing your own direct connects, or have you labeled a channel management provider within the platform?
Yeah, so everything that we utilize, we want to make sure is completely embedded into our system. So we do use a couple different channel managers on top of it. We're working for direct connection with the major four. But then everything else that you want on top of it, aside of a few different players like Hopper and a few others that we're going to be eventually integrating directly with those as well. But everything else is done through channel management, but it's a white label channel management. So you don't see them. They're again embedded into the system, and that's already included in the fee. There's no adding of fees. Like if you just get the MOS, you get 100% of everything that we offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you book on Jurny also? I mean, for all the properties that are part of the program?
Correct. On the mobile app, we allow for direct booking. And the reason is because it's just so easy and direct. But because if somebody, so you show up on the app if you're utilizing all the solutions. So you have to utilize MOS and you have to have a smart lock that is connected to the system. But the cool thing of everything working as a single system, that also means that if somebody's on a mobile app, they can literally Apple Pay, so double tap Apple Pay, and then immediately the reservation is active on their phone, and they can use their phone to open the door and walk right in. This is like you book, within a second you can be inside of the unit.
Wow.
It's we're not trying to become an OTA, but we're just showing what the the capability of the technology. And for large players that they're willing to pay, our mobile app is white label as well to them. Like it can be white label.
Okay.
So is your target audience? Well, I guess because of the technology is all embedded, obviously changing a PMS is a pretty cumbersome, task for any operator of any size. So are you looking to start with people like focused on, like, say, that under 25 unit person to help them scale up? Or are you targeting really anybody that's interested in that? And off of that question, if you get someone like a Steve Milo, as an example, who is acquiring and growing at a pretty rapid clip, what does the onboarding process look like? Is it multiple months? Is it something that can get done in a couple of weeks? Like how does that work?
Yeah, the onboarding are super quick. The only part that takes time is, like, for instance, like, when you have to switch, when you switch channel manager or PMS, like from some of those channels, the switch takes time.
Right.
Your BO, for instance, is long. It's like, I think 3-4 weeks. Airbnb is a couple days. So again, depends on the channels. But from our side, it's a couple day process, 2-3 days max. Doesn't matter how many units somebody has. Like, they can do most of the work themselves, especially if they do most of the work themselves, it's even quicker. Everything is pretty self-explanatory. We're working really tirelessly. I don't know if you can see this, but no, you can't see it. But it's a sign I have, and it says obsession over convenience. And that's our goal for next year, to be completely obsessed over convenience and allow, like, really streamline a lot of these processes that you have to do with any of the system, where, again, like you said, it can take weeks to do things that are easy. So we want to make everything the least amount of clicks as possible, the least amount of steps as possible, and that's going to be our I guess obsession for next year, to improve all that aspect of the business. So it's pretty quick. But to answer the first part of your question, our platform is meant to be for you to scale from a handful of units into the tens of thousands, right? And removing the need to having to switch platform each single step of the growth that you are which is how unfortunately it's kind of the industry is kind of built today. But we are targeting more people that don't have a system or have just started having a system in place, for the simple fact that it's easier for them to make a switch. But we have some large property managers that are making switches as well. We're just not targeting them yet.
Sure.
We just want to first show how small operators now are maybe outgrowing some of the larger operators because they have a tech stack that's scaling with them.
Right.
So who is your, or not who is your, but what is your largest group? Like how many units, and are they multiple markets?
Yeah, we have they're about like 250 units, and but they're actually a long-term management company that have thousands of units under management, but they're looking to bring a lot of this in, and they have a thousand of corporate as well, and they're looking to bring a lot more into the short term. So it's 250 now, but we might be into the thousands very, very soon.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we have a lot of medium players. Like I say, like between 5 units to 50 units is the majority of our customers.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the sweet spot for the industry that at this point is that's where the growth is. It's all under that 50 unit mark. So you're in the right place.
I'm on your website. I'm curious, diving into this a little bit more. So the most popular plan, the MOS, what's the difference between that versus the MOS Pro versus Enterprise? Is it just more of the services, or some of them that you don't have to elect to use? Like if you didn't want to use the digital locks, or how does that work?
Yeah, the Pro basically adds the services that we talked about before, which is outside of this technology, like the 24/7 customer support, or virtual front desk, and the accounting team and the pricing team.
Okay.
So you don't only get the software, but you get a team that basically runs the software for you.
Right. Okay.
And then the enterprise, it just means that you can customize. If your app's like above a certain kind of size as a client, you can customize. Basically, you can pick and choose whatever products you want, and we'll customize an offer to you.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Really
Very
what
smart.
it means.
Yeah.
And then we have the OS version, which is basically just our software without third parties, right? Like it means just like our guest mobile app, the PMS, the channel manager, with just a direct integration, so not third party channel manager, and access control system.
Gotcha.
Do you see a scenario? One of the things that Alex and I've talked to a lot of people over the last year, there's just a lot of consolidation within the verticals of technology. PMS is channel management. I just went through that with Lexicon. And do you see that as an opportunity for you guys to maybe purchase someone to make them wholly part of Jurny? Or do you think that the way your technology is built, that partnering with a select person by category is the best route to take, or you see yourself going maybe into a hybrid model?
I think it's already is a hybrid, because where, for instance, on the access control system, we couldn't find the access control system and the PMS or the gas mobile app. Those three solutions are three things that we couldn't find the partners that could have done what we needed. So we were forced to build our own. Right? Like I don't want to get there. And so that's the three things that we chose to build our own, and we believe they are the best in the industry, and that is the reason why we build them. But the other solution, I have no interest in getting to that business. And I honestly, I'm completely okay to have a mutual beneficial partnership. Having a third party company that is exclusively working with you, it comes at a benefits to them, because they know. Think about this. Like if they are working with a PMS that works with all their competitors, they're not going to refer customers to them, because it doesn't make any sense. They know and the reality is you cannot use a guest verification system or a pricing tool efficiently if you don't have a PMS partner, right? So we then become automatically their best partner, and they become the best partner for us. So I like that mutual beneficial relationship. So as long as partners are evolving with the idea and the concept that interconnectivity is going to be a big deal in the future, that's the most important thing for me. And all the partners that are partnered with us understand that very, very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really, really smart business model, I would
Right.
say.
I agree. Yeah. Very,
Yeah, makes a
very
lot.
valuable.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Well, so Luca, one of the things we like to ask our guests too is what would you say, what's something that's not being talked about in the vacation rental, short-term rental industry right now that should be talked about or talked about more?
Well, I am biased on this.
Software.
We wouldn't expect
Well, I
anything
think,
less.
yeah, I mean, I just think like we sometimes it's just easy to do things the way they've been done,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and not
Good
making
point.
changes.
Mhm.
And I do feel like from the software side, I don't want to say I don't want to say terms laziness because it's maybe not the right term, but I say that because for lack of better terms, in innovation but to purely bring more value to PMs. Like I think generally speaking, from a PMS standpoint, there is a big level of frustration from a lot of PMs.
Mhm.
But it became the industry standard, so nobody cared about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody's just kind of like got to a level of innovation. Yeah, there is a little bit of innovation happening, but we got to this level, and you can't find that across the board. And you have a lot of PMSs that have stopped caring about this for a long time.
Yeah.
They've been around forever and they never care.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I don't want to say names, but I've been their customer. I know exactly what it means. It's just, they're like, that's the way it is. And we like that the standard is this way.
Yeah.
Because that means there is less work for us, more money for us. They ultimately don't really think about the property managers. And unfortunately, I think this is outside of software. Unfortunately, PMs come last, and come last from all the software providers, and come last, especially I think, in my opinion, from a PMS standpoint and from the OTA standpoint, right? Like if something happens and a room gets damaged, the OTA very likely is not gonna blame the guest, or is gonna do everything they can not to blame the guest. And I think this is like a very big issue, because we don't realize that the industry exists thanks to good PMs, good property managers. And I think the first companies that do realize that and realize that they have to do everything they can to bring more value to property managers are the companies that are going to be winning. I think both from a OTA standpoint and a PMS standpoint, or MOS standpoint, we're talking about the future.
Yeah.
It's really bringing value and understanding that it's hard to be a PM. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like you're dealing with so much already. Like you're dealing with owners, you're dealing with guests, and you're dealing with issues that oftentimes are not up to you, right? Like something breaks in the apartment, and maybe it was a previous guest, but you couldn't see it, or the cleaners made a mistake. It's there's so much that really doesn't 100% rely on you. And the last thing you need is these technology providers to try to take advantage of you, try to take all your money without caring about you. And really, that's what happens. That's what OTAs do. They only care about getting the fee out of you. And that's what PMSs care about, getting the fee out of you. They don't care that you're struggling. And that pissed me off. That's what motivated me to change that in the industry and do what we're doing. Maybe we're not perfect yet at achieving that mission, but you will know that if you work with Jurny, you have people that's their mission, and they're working relentlessly 10 hours a day, 6 days a week to make this happen. That's to me what needs to be talked about more.
Well, there's no denying your passion for this, and that's exactly what we just love about having people on here is you can come and just and share that passion, because I think sometimes it gets lost when you're just behind the advertising, or your sales team's out there. It's like really getting to the root of what made you do this. And like for Alex and I, we talk about connecting the dots, leading you down your path and your journey to get to where you are.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we love it. Well, this has been super interesting, Luca, and I'm so glad that you came on. I know we've been talking to you and your team for several months now, so this is an interview that we were excited to have, and appreciate your support of the podcast too. And we can't wait to see what's next for Jurny. So leave on one last question. What are you looking forward to most in the new year?
I think I'm looking forward the most to really try to change this industry for the best, and make it more convenient, and really become hopefully a really big support of all the people that believe into our company and all our clients, but I call them partners, all our partners, and try to, and hopefully be a big reason of their success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's great.
Awesome.
Well, we will include your contact information in the show notes. What is the easiest way for anybody to contact you if they want to reach out and hear more about Jurny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty reachable on LinkedIn, and they can also reach me on my email. And it's but yeah, my LinkedIn is probably the best tool to use.
Great. Okay, we will include that, and you can go to jurny.com, right, for more information.
Oh yeah, jurny.com
too. Yeah, awesome. And if anybody wants to contact Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review or send us a note. Until next time, thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.